Okay, so we are going to use this data or data, however you pronounce it, to make a line plot of how many inches of rain fell in 14 towns over a 3-day period. Okay, so these numbers right here represent each of the 14 towns that the rainfall was measured in. Okay, and so what we're going to do and what you're going to do on your paper, and we'll do this together, we are going to rearrange the numbers so that they are in order from least to greatest. Okay, and what that's going to do, that is going to help us make our line plot and keep our information organized so that we are then able to find the mean, median, mode, and range of this set of data that we're talking about. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to rewrite the numbers here in order from least to greatest. So I am going to be writing on my screen, and I'm going to use my green color. Okay, so it looks like the smallest number that I have is a 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write them in order, and I'm going to cross them out as I go to make sure that I have all of my numbers represented. Okay, so I see, looks like 4 is my smallest. So I'm going to start with 4. And I'm just going to write that, cross it out. I see another 4. I see a 5 and another 5. And I see a 6 and another 6 and a 7 and another 7. And it looks like I have 3 8s. There's 1. There's another 1. And there's another 1. And then I have a 9, 10, and 11. So 9, 10, and 11. And what I like to do is I like to double check to make sure I have all of my numbers in my set. So I had 14 towns in this data collection. And so I should have 14 numbers in my number set. So 1, 2, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so I've got all 14 numbers there. And I am going to make a line plot. All right, now why would a line plot be appropriate for this set of data? Andrew?
Because there's a bunch of numbers.
Okay, I do have a bunch of numbers. And what do you notice about the smallest number in this set and the biggest number in this set? Are they pretty close together or are they pretty far apart? If I have 4 as my lowest and 11 as my highest, they're pretty close together. Okay, so I'm working with a very small range of numbers. So a line plot is going to be a more appropriate way of displaying the data versus a stem and leaf plot. We're going to talk about a stem and leaf plot next, but this is first. I'm working with my smaller range of data, and we will be talking about the range in just a second. The range is the difference between the highest and the lowest numbers in your set. So first thing I need is a title for my line plot. And so the title should kind of tell you what information you're displaying. So a good title would be something like inches of rainfall. Let's see, we'll stick a title right here. So inches of rainfall, we'll say over a 3-day period. Okay, so there's our title. And we are going to obviously need a line to put our data on. And we need a title or a label, not necessarily a title. We need a label for our, let's put our numbers on here first. All right, so my smallest number is 4 and my largest number is 11. So I need to include all of the numbers in between. So I'm going to start with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then I am just going to make, maybe, I wanted to make my line just a little bit shorter. There we go. Okay. So I've got my line plot here started. Okay. And what did those numbers in blue tell us? What do the numbers in blue tell us? Those numbers are telling us what? Kaylee? They are least to greatest, but what do the numbers actually tell us? So if I put an X above the 4, what does that tell me?
How many 4s and like 6s and 7s you have.
Okay, but what did the numbers mean?
So it's like a set.
Okay.
And then you put X's over it, so like 4s.
So if I have 2 4s, what does that tell me? That's the what? So if I put 2 X's above the 4, if I have 2 4s, I'm going to put 2 X's. So what are these numbers on the bottom telling me? How many inches of rain fell, correct? Okay, so these numbers down here are telling us the inches of rain, okay? And then each X represents what? Each X is going to represent a what? Right. Well, we have the inches of rain, but each X represents a town, right? Each X represents a town. All right. So we are going to put our data points on this line plot. So, and now that everything is in order, it's going to be very easy for us to put the X's where they need to go on our line plot. So we have 2 4s. So that means I had 2 towns. This town and this town both had 4 inches of rain. It doesn't tell us the specific town. It's just telling us that 2 out of the 14 towns had 4 inches of rain over that 3-day period. Okay. How many towns had 5 inches of rain? 2. So the 5 also gets 2 X's. How many towns had 6 inches of rain? 2. So we need 2 X's for that. How many towns had 7? 2. So we need 2 X's for that. How many towns had 3 inches of rain? 3. 3 towns had 8 inches of rain. So we need 1, 2, 3 X's for that one. How many towns had 9? 1. How many towns had 10? 1. And how many towns had 11? 1. So if we had 14 towns in our data results, then we should have 14 X's in our line plot. So let's just double check. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so this would be what the line plot would look like. Okay, now when we are finding, I'm going to scoot this down a little bit. When we are finding the mean, median, mode, and range of this set of data, we are going to use the information that we have to figure all of those out. So we have the mean, we have the median, we have the mode, and we have the range. We can figure out all of these things from this line plot, okay? All right, so let me see. We're going to start off with the thing that I feel is the easiest to pick out, and that is the mode, okay? The mode is the number that appears the most times in the set. So which number appeared more than any other number in the set? And it's very easy to see that on your line plot. Jasmine? 8, okay? We had 3 8s. It appeared the most times. On our line plot, we can easily see that this data point right here repeated itself 3 times, okay? It's the column that is the one with the most X's. So we had 3 8s in our data point. So the mode is the one that appears the most. So I am going to put the number 8. I'm actually going to minimize my screen just a tad. Let's see. Oh, not like that. Let's see. All right. Can you still see this? All right. And that way we can see all of our information. Okay. So the mode was 8, and I'm going to write the 8 down here. The mode is the one that appears the most often. So the mode of our data is 8. Okay. When your numbers are in order from least to greatest, it's very easy to see which number is the biggest and which number is the smallest. And when you identify the largest number in your data set and the smallest number in your data set, the range is the difference between those two numbers. Okay? So the range is the largest number in your set minus the smallest number in your set. Okay? So 11 minus 4 would give us what? 11 minus 4 is 7. Okay, so that would be the range of our data. That's a pretty small range, okay? The median of our set of data is the number that is in the middle. If we think about the median as sounding, first of all, it sounds kind of like medium, which is between small and large. Or if you think of the word median and think of a highway, the median is the middle part of your highway. It's that grassy area. All right, that's called the median. So the median is the middle value, okay? Now, we have 14 numbers in our data set. So 14 is an even number. So that means we're going to have 2 numbers in the middle, okay? And so when you have 2 numbers in the middle, let's see which 2 numbers are in the middle, because this might work to our advantage. So I'm going to kind of work my way towards the center by taking one off each end until I'm left with 2 numbers in the middle. And those 2 numbers end up both being 7. So therefore, our median is just going to be 7. Okay? So our median is 7. Now, if you had 2 different numbers in the middle, for example, if you had 7 and 9, or let's say 7 and 8, let's say 7 and 8 were in the middle, then you would simply just add them together and divide by 2, and that would give you the median, okay? So when there's 2 numbers in the middle, you add them together and divide by 2. Well, if I added 7 plus 7, that's 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7, okay? Now, the mean is the average, okay? On average, how much inches of rain or how many inches of rain fell in those 3 days. So we're going to say the mean is the average. All right. And we have to do 2 steps to figure that out. We have to add all of our data points together, and then we have to divide by how many numbers we have. So I am going to bring up my calculator on this screen, and we are going to add all 14 numbers together. So I am going to shrink this a little bit and try to move my calculator over here. Let's see. I'm going to put my calculator over here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to add, and I usually add 2 times, but I'm going to start with 4. I'm going to say 4 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 7 plus 7 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 equals. My total is 98. Did everybody get 98?
I got 90.
90 as your total?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get it. It's my buttons. You have to
All right.
really close.
All right. So I'm going to say 98 is what I got the first time. I'm going to add it again. Okay. Let me clear this out. I'm going to do this on a different calculator really quickly. So I had 4 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 7 plus 7 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11. 98. Okay, so 98 is my total. That's not my average, okay? That wouldn't make sense. We wouldn't say on average 98 inches of rain fell in 3 days. If that happened, we would have a catastrophic flood. So what we need to do with that total is we have to take 98 and divide it by how many? How many numbers were in our set? 14. So we're going to take 98 and divide that by 14. So 98 divided by 14 gives us 7. So on average, 7 inches of rain fell over the course of those 3 days. So that tells us, it doesn't say every town had 7 inches of rain. That is a number that is in the middle of our data set, okay? It means some towns were lower than that, some towns were higher than that. But 7 is the average, okay? Sometimes the average is known as fair share. And what fair share means is if you think about what we just did, we just added all of those rain totals together and divided it by 14, and that kind of gave a fair share to each one of those numbers, okay? If you think about the example that I use all the time is Halloween candy. If we all went trick-or-treating and we all got different amounts of candy, and we put them in a giant pile and divided them amongst all of us, then we would all get the same amount of pieces or a fair share of candy. That's basically figuring out the average number of candy that we collected. Okay, so average or mean can also be called fair share. All right, so if you ever hear that, they are talking about the average or the mean. Okay, so that is how you find mean, median, mode, and range for a set of data. And that's how it would look on a line plot, okay? All right, so I'm going to end this video, and we are going to